For this extension lesson, we're going to do a little refresher on converting fractions to decimals. So you can use your multiplication chart for this, and you should, because you should not be using a calculator. So when we are converting a fraction to a decimal, we want to keep in mind that 3 over 4 means 3 divided by 4. So I'm putting 4 on the outside of my long division and 3 on the inside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a decimal next to the 3 and then a decimal right above in the answer so that we are prepared to add zeros if needed. And then I'm going to use my multiplication chart to write out my multiples of 4. Maybe you have those memorized and you don't need to, or maybe you can just look at the chart, but it might be easy to have these listed out. So I'm going to list out 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, and 36 to help me as I am dividing. So I'm looking, how many times does 4 go into 3? It does not fit into 3. 3 is too small, so it goes in 0 times. 4 times 0 is 0. Now I can subtract to start solving. So 3 minus 0 is 0. I have nothing to bring down, so what I'm going to do is add just after the 3 right here a 0. Sorry, 3 minus 0 is 3. Now I can bring down my 0. 4 goes into 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, because 32 is too big. So it goes in 7 times. 4 times 7 was 28. So 30 minus 28 is 2. We still have a remainder. We have nothing to bring down, so I'm going to add a 0. 4 goes into 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times exactly. So 4 times 5 is 20. Now when I subtract, 20 minus 20 is 0. So 3/4 as a decimal is 0.75. Let's try another one. 7/8 as a decimal. So reminder, that means 7 divided by 8. So 8's going to go on the outside. 7's going to go on the inside. I'm adding a decimal both inside here and in their answer in our quotient. And then I'm going to list out some multiples of 8. I'm going to use my multiplication chart to help me with that. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72. So I just list out my first 9. Now I'm going to divide. 8 does not go into 7. 7 is too small, so it goes in 0 times. 8 times 0 is 0. When we subtract, 7 minus 0 is 7. I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. 8 goes into 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, because 72 is too big. So 8 times 8 is 64. I'm going to plug that in here and subtract. 70 minus 64 is 6. We have a remainder. I have nothing to bring down, so I'm going to add a 0. 8 goes into 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, because 64 is too big. So we put the 7 up here. 8 times 7 is 56. And I'm going to subtract. 60 minus 56. Maybe you can do that in your head. 7, 8, 9, 60, or borrow. The 6 becomes a 5, the 0 becomes 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. We still have a remainder. I have nothing to bring down, so I'm going to add a 0. Now we have 40. How many times does 8 go into 40? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times exactly. 8 times 5 is 40. Now I can subtract. 40 minus 40 is 0. So we finally got our remainder of 0. That means 7/8 as a decimal is 0.875. Let's try another one. 7/20 as a decimal. That is a bigger number here, but again, we have our multiplication chart to help us. So 7/20 means 7 divided by 20. So 20 goes on our outside, 7 on the inside. I'm going to add a decimal inside and in my answer. And then I'm going to use my multiplication chart to help me list out the multiples of 20. So we got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180. And now I'm going to divide. 20 does not go into 7. It's too small, so it goes in 0 times. 20 times 0 is 0. Now we can subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. We have a remainder. We have nothing we can bring down, so I'm going to add a 0. 20 goes into 70. 1, 2, 3 times, because 80 is too big. So we put a 3 up here. 20 times 3 is 60. And we can subtract. 70 minus 60 is 10. We still have a remainder. We have nothing to bring down, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring that down. All right, how many times does 20 go into 100? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times exactly. So our 5 goes up here. 20 times 5 is 100. And then we can subtract. 100 minus 100 is 0. So we finally got our remainder of 0, which means 7/20 as a decimal is 0.35. All right, let's try one more, and then we'll give you some time to do some on your own. So 1/3 as a decimal. As a reminder, that means 1 divided by 3. So 3 goes on our outside, 1 on the inside, and I'm adding decimals right away. Maybe for 3s, you don't need to list out the multiples. I'm still going to do it just in case and use your multiplication chart for it. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and 27. And then start dividing. 3 does not go into 1. 1 is too small, so it goes in 0 times. 3 times 0 is 0. And subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. We have a remainder and nothing to bring down, so I'm going to add a 0. Bring that down. 3 goes into 10. 1, 2, 3 times, because 12 is too big. So we put our 3 up here. 3 times 3 is 9. And then we can subtract. 10 minus 9 is 1. We still have a remainder. We have nothing to bring down, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring that down. 3 goes into 10. 1, 2, 3 times again, because 12 is too big. So I put my 3 up here. 3 times 3 is 9. And I subtract. 10 minus 9 is 1. So you might notice this pattern. 10 minus 9, 10 minus 9. Each time that's going to happen. So this 3 is going to keep repeating a bunch of times. So when I'm writing 1/3 as a decimal, I can write this as 0.3 and put a little bar over the 3 to show that the 3 is repeating.